What makes someone a balanced leader? Hey there, this is your friend and guide, Caroline. On today's Balanced Leader, my incredible guest and I share strategies to help you lead with confidence, stay resilient, and avoid burnout. This isn't just about leadership, it's about thriving holistically, in mind, body, and spirit. Ready to recalibrate? Well, let's dive in and create the balanced life you deserve. Welcome back to another episode of today's Balanced Leader. Today we're talking about goals. So specifically, why most of us struggle to follow through on them, and then how can we reframe goal setting in a way that actually works. So if you're someone who sets big resolutions every January, only to feel frustrated when they slip away by February or March, stick with me because this episode is for you. But first, let me ask you a question. Have your past New Year's resolutions actually worked for you? Be honest with yourself. Have they led to deep, lasting changes you had hoped for? Or have they left you feeling like you fell short yet again? Now, what if I told you that it's not your fault? What if I told you that the way you've been taught to set goals is fundamentally flawed? That it's actually setting us up for burnout, self-doubt, and the constant feeling of never being enough. But here's the good news. There's a better way. A way that doesn't leave you exhausted or overwhelmed, but instead feel deeply aligned with what matters most to you. And today we're going to break it all down. So if you've ever felt like goal setting is a cycle of frustration, trust me, I've been there. Or if you're ready for a new approach that it actually works, keep listening because this episode just might change the way you think about success. But before we dive in, I want to take a moment to talk to you about something that might just be the missing piece for you. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. If you're listening to this and thinking, I need more support in making these changes actually stick, then my Strategic Leadership Accelerator program is for you. This is my one-on-one program designed to help leaders like you shift from frustration to clarity, align with your vision with meaningful action, and lead with confidence and purpose. So if you're ready to break free from burnout and step into your power as a leader, then visit the link in my show notes or DM me for more information and get signed up. Back to the episode. So let's begin first by exploring why most goals fail. And I want to talk a little bit about the psychology behind that. So, because once we understand what's actually happening in our brains, we can set goals in a way that supports long-term success. Because the problem isn't that we're lazy or incapable. Absolutely not. What's the real issue? Well, traditional goal setting is based on flawed assumptions. So let's, again, talk about the psychology and start with the dopamine trap, right? Our brains are wired to seek immediate rewards. So when we set a long-term goal like lose 20 pounds or get a promotion, our brain doesn't get an instant dopamine hit, which makes it harder to stay motivated. Instead, we need to build in small, frequent wins that sustain that momentum. Think about it. When you break a big goal into tiny, achievable steps, you create a steady stream of dopamine boosts, which helps you to stay engaged. Dopamine is often linked to pleasure and reward, but what most people don't realize it's not released just when we achieve a goal, but also when we anticipate it. This is why breaking goals into small wins is so effective. Our brain starts craving the next step. This also explains why some people, to be honest, fall short and fall into the trap of talking about their goals instead of working on them. Talking about them gives that dopamine hit. It's similar like when we talk about the difference between writing it and then saying it. It's that dopamine hit we get. The trick is to move past talking about it and start exercising and executing micro actions that reinforce progress. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the amygdala. And if you've been in my Soulful Healing membership, you've heard me talk about the amygdala and the fear response and how they're tied together. So let's talk a little bit about that. The amygdala, you may not know, is part of our brain responsible for processing fear. It plays a crucial role in goal setting because when we set a big, ambitious goal, our amygdala can perceive it as a threat. It's different, it's change. And that triggers that fight or flight response. This is why ambitious goals often make us feel overwhelmed, anxious, or sometimes even paralyzed. Our brain tries to protect us. That's its job. And it signals danger when we step too far outside our comfort zone. The amygdala was great back in the day of the Stone Age because it helped us to see danger, to see the saber-toothed tiger, to run away from it, to protect ourselves. But that's different in today's world, right? And the way to override this is by gradual exposure. We want to start introducing it to things. So instead of shocking your brain with a huge goal, ease into it by setting those incremental steps that feel safe enough for your brain to accept it as achievable. And then part of the psychology I want to talk about too is the ego and the cognitive dissonance. Our ego thrives on maintaining our self-image, right? We all want to look like we're good at what we do, we know it all. If a goal contradicts our current identity, the ego resists it, and that creates the cognitive dissonance. It's that uncomfortable feeling when our actions align with our beliefs. So for example, if you've always identified as someone who is not good with money, setting a goal to become financially independent can feel unnatural and threatening. And to counteract this, we must shift our internal narrative. So instead of aiming for an external outcome, because we'll never get true satisfaction from an external outcome, which we'll talk about, we redefine ourselves in a way that naturally leads to that outcome. It's an outcome. So for an example, instead of saying, I want to be a millionaire, shift it to, I am someone who makes wise financial decisions daily. And then that million will come to you. Because this aligns with your ego and with your goal rather than working against it. Make sense? All right, let's shift. Let's talk about why some goals work and others don't. Because we've had success, right? We want to talk about the difference between internal and external factors. I mentioned above I was going to talk about that. So internal factors are the mental and emotional frameworks that influence our ability to succeed. These are largely within our control and can be cultivated through self-awareness and deliberate practice. So what do I mean by internal factors? Well, your mindset's one of them, right? Your mindset is looking at fixed versus growth. And that mindset determines whether we see failure as a learning opportunity or a setback. Internal factors would be your emotional intelligence, right? The ability to manage emotions, stay resilient, and self-motivate in times of difficulty is crucial to a long-term success. And we do a lot on emotional intelligence, right? It's one of the buzzwords. The other thing that really plays into internal factors are actually your past experiences. Our history with success or failure, or what we believed to be success or failure, influences our belief in our ability to achieve new goals. So if you had a goal in the past to lose 20 pounds and it didn't work, guess what? Your mind's telling you you can't do it. That's one of the things that I help my clients go through and change the feeling or the connection to it so that we can release that and move forward. And then finally, in the internal factors, there's what are your beliefs around success and failure? So if we subconsciously believe we are unworthy of success, we're going to self-sabotage ourselves. And in fact, if you had a goal of losing 20 pounds and you lost 10, is that a success or a failure? It's all your mindset, right? So we'll talk a little bit on how to address those, but now let's look at external factors, right? They are the outside influences that shape our opportunities and challenges. So while we may not control these directly, we can develop strategies to navigate them. So what do I mean by that? Let's look at the environment, right? Your environment is your workplace, culture, your family expectations that they have on you, and then just the societal norms that shape how we approach goals. We can change how we believe those to be true. Another external factor would be economic conditions, right? I know right now it's difficult. There's a lot of uncertainty in North America in particular, let alone globally. So the financial and market fluctuations impact career and business growth, right? I know this as an entrepreneur. You purchase something in the US with the exchange rate right now, it's significantly more. $400 could cost you $600. Those economic conditions can truly impact how you move your business and whether you stay in that positive or negative mindset. Another external factor could be support system, right? Having mentors, coaches, and a strong network improves accountability and resilience. That's what hiring a coach is all about. It's to celebrate with you. It's to help you navigate out of those difficult times quicker than sitting in them for a day, a week, or whatever. We help you to move through this, to become aware of it, to understand the feelings, and to achieve your goals quicker. So support systems are great. And then, of course, there are time constraints, right? It's the reality of responsibilities and daily demands, and those can affect how and when we work towards goals. But we can change those. You know, do I have to do something? Should. Is a should necessary versus I need to do this, right? So let's get back to the simple things. So the key to success in this overall is balancing what we can control, which are internal factors, right? With strategic navigation of external barriers. All right, so we've talked a lot about what can happen. Let's talk about the progress principle and talk a little bit about the micro wins that I talk about. So research from Harvard Business Review progress principle shows that the single biggest motivator is making meaningful progress in work and life. So even small wins trick our brain, I like to call it rewire, into feeling accomplished, which fuels that long-term momentum for us. So let me give you an example. Instead of setting a vague goal like I want to grow my business, break it into having 3 networking conversations this week, right? We're tricking our brain. So instead of saying, I want to grow my business, oh my gosh, what does that mean? How do I do that? Where do I even start? Break it into small chunks. What is something that would grow my business? And what's one step I can take today to make that happen? Because the smaller the goal, the more sustainable the momentum. Now let's talk about the power of identity-based goals. And if you don't know what I mean by that, I'm going to show you. So I love giving examples. Instead of setting outcome-based goals, shift them to identity-based goals. So instead of saying, I want to be healthier, try, I am the kind of person who moves my body daily. The outcome is you'll become healthier, but you see what we did? We made it smaller. We made it something that's tangible, that's doable. And then we can break that down even further. And that's what I do in my program. So another example would be in the corporate world, I want to be a great leader. Try, I am someone who communicates with clarity and confidence. Again, when we have strong communication skills, when we have resilience, when we can adapt, when we have clarity, when we're confident in what we do and others feel that, what does that make us? We become that great leader. It's the outcome. So this subtle shift helps to rewire or reprogram the brain to embody success rather than chasing it, which I know in the corporate world I did a lot, and I wish I had known what I'm teaching you today. Now, let's take a quick break. And when we return, we're going to take a look at making this come to life, because you know I love to do that. How do I integrate this into my world? And then how to rethink a business goal, something like maybe a KPI, right? So that you can align it with your values and change your mindset on how to approach it. Are you already feeling stressed and overwhelmed? And it's only January? If so, it's time to reset and recharge. I'm inviting you to join my upcoming virtual retreats in February, March, and April. These retreats are designed to help you break free from the cycle of stress and step into clarity, balance, and empowerment. If you're ready to invest in your well-being, get on the list now. The link is in the show notes or DM me directly. Okay, welcome back. Before we get into an example of taking a KPI and aligning it with our values, let's look at a live goal setting exercise and example. And if you've got pen and paper, this is a great time to take some notes. Because now that we understand why goals fail, it's easier to put them into practice. So like I said, grab a notebook or open up your notes app and follow along. I'm going to give you the steps one by one. 1, write down one big goal you have. Don't think long about it, whatever it is. What's that goal you have? We all have one. 2, identify the feeling behind it. What are you truly seeking? Security, confidence, freedom? What is that feeling? And if you need help, go to ChatGPT or Google and put it in. What am I feeling behind this goal I'm trying to achieve? Give me 15 ideas and then read them and see which one truly resonates inside, in your heart, in your soul. Then rewrite that goal based on identity. That's number 3. Rewrite that goal based on your identity. So instead of focusing on the outcome, remember that's going to come. Describe the kind of person who naturally achieves this. You know people who've achieved this. What did they have? What did they do? And then 4, I want you to break it into micro wins. Identify the smallest actionable step you can take today that will reinforce that progress. And then, of course, celebrate that micro win. So let me give you an example. Your old goal might be, I want to get a promotion this year. What's the feeling behind it? Let's say it's security and recognition. Now let's identify the shift. So the shift might be, I am a leader who constantly and consistently delivers value and inspires my team. You can break that down even further. What does that look like? Is it intentionality in a meeting? Is it how I talk to my team and support them and develop them? What is it? Is it finally taking that step and ready get, removing that individual who just isn't performing and this just isn't the right fit for them and finding somebody who does? And then micro wins. I will contribute one valuable insight at every team meeting, and then celebrate that once you leave the meeting. Treat yourself if you need to. Take a break, go have a coffee, go sit with somebody. Because by shifting the focus from those external validations, again, they never work, to internal alignment, we can create sustainable momentum. So try this with your own goal. And do me a favor, send me a DM with what you discover. I'd love to help you through it. All right, I promised I was going to take you through, because it's easy when it's a personal goal, right? But what if it's a business goal? So how do we align a KPI with values for sustainable success? So let's look at that, okay? So let's say the corporate goal is, the KPI is increasing sales by 20%. Or maybe it's reducing employee turnover. That's very common in my world. I'm going to talk about those two, okay? So these are common performance indicators in leadership and business, right? And traditionally, these goals are externally driven, right? We don't control them. We can support them. Excuse me. We can do things to help them, but they are measured in numbers and outcomes. But, and I wish I'd known this, what if we tied them to our values and internal motivation instead? So step one is identify the core motivation behind the KPI. What is truly at the heart of it? So instead of focusing purely on hitting that number, ask, why do I want to increase sales? And don't just say, because the business told me so. I hear you. Is it about financial stability of the business and my job? Is it career advancement? Or is it serving more clients effectively? Right? What's in it for them? What are they getting? And let's look at the turnover one. Why do I want to reduce turnover? Is it about creating a healthier company culture? Is it about reducing hiring costs? Or is it making employees feel more valued? So remember, step two, shift the focus to internal factors. So we use the same examples. So for a sales leader, instead of saying, I need to increase revenue by 20%, shift it to, I am a leader who builds trust and lasting relationships with clients, leading to natural sales growth. And again, success versus failure, maybe you don't get to 20%, maybe you get to 17%, maybe you get to 10%. That's okay, because we're still learning, right? We're going to do our ROI on it, and I've done a previous podcast on that. And for an HR leader aiming, even a business leader actually, aiming to reduce turnover, instead of saying, I need to reduce attrition by 10%, shift that to, again, internal. I am a leader who fosters a workplace where employees feel valued, supported, and engaged. See how that feels better already? Now we break it into micro actions, right? That's step number 3. So let's translate them into small, measurable, and meaningful actions. Because again, there's still numbers we have to hit. So for sales growth, have 3 meaningful client conversations per week focused on solving their pain points rather than pushing a product. Go talk to them. They're there. And don't say you can't. You can. You could provide added value through education. Host a webinar, create a resource, or other insights beyond the actual sale. And the other step I wanted to give you for this one is follow up with past clients to strengthen relationships and maintain that long-term partnership, because then they'll guide you, they'll give you the information, and all that is to set you up for success. All right, let's look at reducing turnover. What are the steps that you could do? Well, I can tell you one that I did. I can conduct one stay interview per month, which is not a lot, to understand what's working for employees and what's not. You know who to reach out to. You're not going to reach out to the person that actually just did not enjoy time here. It's constructive feedback. Another one you could do is recognize and celebrate employee contributions in team meetings to boost morale. Find out if it's somebody's birthday. Find out if it's somebody's anniversary. That speaks to turnover. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. And then implement one small initiative each quarter that improves that workplace engagement. Is it a mentorship program? Is it wellness benefits and you want to talk to that team? Is it flexible work options? What is it? You're just doing it once every quarter. Think about what an amazing leader, whether you're HR or in another department, it would be if every quarter you held a mentorship program where you invited certain employees to come and spend time with you, to have those conversations. And then step 4, measure progress differently. Instead of just tracking numbers, track engagement, feedback, behavioral shifts. Did clients start coming to you instead of you chasing them? Wow, that's amazing. They're giving you feedback and you haven't even asked. Did employees express greater job satisfaction in feedback surveys? Check the ones you've been meeting with on a quarterly basis. What has it changed? How are they influencing their colleagues? Maybe they could speak at their team meetings and share with what they've learned through the mentorship program. And then finally, are meetings more productive and collaborative? Don't forget, you're going in and you're sharing something each time that is going to add value. So by shifting from outcome-based to value-driven, identify-based goals, we make success feel achievable and fulfilling. Isn't that what you want in your job, is to be fulfilled? It's not just another number to hit. I encourage you to try it. All right. I gave you lots today. So let's quickly recap what we covered today, because shifting how we approach goals isn't just about setting them. It's about understanding how our brain works, how and why we often fail, and how to create a system that actually supports success. So let's summarize it for you. 1, your brain is wired for short-term wins, not long-term success. So traditional goal setting relies on those big long-term outcomes, but our brain craves immediate rewards. So instead of waiting for one major accomplishment, create small, frequent wins to keep your motivation high and to retrain your brain. 2, fear and resistance come from your brain's defense system. Remember, it's there to protect you. The amygdala triggers fear when a goal feels too big or overwhelming. This isn't just you failing, it's your brain trying to protect you. And so to override this, again, start small. Gradual exposure to new behaviors reduces resistance. That's why some executives and leaders are so successful, because they've been rewiring their brain on how they think about things. Okay, 3, Your identity shapes whether you follow through. So if your goal conflicts with your current self-image, your subconscious is going to resist it every time. So remember, instead of saying, I want to be a great leader, say, I am the kind of person who, fill in the blank, prioritizes clear, confident communication. Pick your own. And remember to send it to me. 4, internal versus external factors determine success. Remember, you control internal factors like mindset, resilience, and self-discipline. You have to navigate external factors like workplace culture, economic conditions, and time constraints strategically. 5, breaking goals into identity-based actions works best. So instead of chasing an outcome, embody the type of person who actually achieves it. Use micro actions that reinforce this identity daily. And we went through some examples. Traditional goal setting is rigid and externally driven. And that often leads to burnout. That often leads to stress. But neuroscience shows that habit loops, identity shifts, and emotional alignment are the key to lasting change. So instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, shift the focus to who you are becoming. Remember, we're constantly growing, and that's part of life. So ask yourself this question. What kind of person would naturally achieve the things I desire? And then how can I start embodying that today? It may be talking to that person to see how they got where they got. And then trust that those small intentional steps today are leading you to exactly where you need to be. So your next step is to put this into action. Take one goal and rewrite it as an identity shift. Maybe it's, I am a person who prioritizes healthy movement daily instead of I need to lose weight. Identify that one micro action you can do that reinforces it today, and send me a DM and let me know what you're shifting and how it's going. Because success isn't just about reaching a goal, it's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts and sustains what they desire. Trust the process. If I can tell you anything, trust this process. It works. Small intentional steps today will lead you to exactly where you need to be. Thanks for tuning in to today's Balanced Leader. If this episode resonates with you, share it, leave a review. Don't forget to DM me your biggest takeaway. Have an amazing day.
Thanks for tuning in to today's Balanced Leader. If you want to go even deeper, then visit my website at carolinebarrett.com, find some free resources, and look at all the different ways that I can support you to become your best self. Remember, change begins with just one small step. It's those tiny actions that start you on the path to achieving your dreams and finding balance. And as always, life is an experience. So take a moment to enjoy the journey and appreciate the progress you make along the way. Until next time, keep taking those small steps, savor the journey, and lead with courage and authenticity. This is Caroline reminding you to stay bold, stay balanced, and keep moving confidently towards your dreams.